Hey everybody, so ChatGPT released their agent mode just about a week ago. And this agent mode uses a virtual desktop or browser, not on your machine, but on ChatGPT's machine, to perform tasks like research, creating reports, booking plane tickets, and so forth. There's been a ton of hype about it, but is it actually good? Now, while the theory of it sounds really cool, how does it actually work in real life? And is the practicality of using it something that you would actually do? Well, thankfully for you, I have a ChatGPT Pro account, and I'm going to show this to you so that you can see exactly how this works. So you can get access to the agent with the Plus account and the Pro account. I'm going to run it through a few things just so that you can kind of see how this works and whether or not it would make any sense to use it. So to access the agent mode, you're just going to click this tools section here inside of the prompt, and you're going to pick agent mode. This is also where you could pick things like deep research, but let's go ahead and click agent mode to switch over to this. Now, once I picked agent mode, it's going to come up and give you some suggested prompts that you could do, right? So if I wanted to look at these, I could click on reports. It could show you what sort of reports it could make. Actions, and again, this is using a virtual browser, so you can actually see it, access a page, and click on buttons. We'll show you that in just a minute. You can do things with spreadsheets and presentations, right? Like creating a PowerPoint presentation based on research that it does. So let's do something on here that OpenAI has touted that it should be able to do with relative ease. So I'm going to go ahead and prompt it here to look for hotels and flights to Las Vegas in October. So I just gave ChatGPT this prompt. I'm going to be leaving from Salt Lake City to go to Las Vegas on October 8th and need to return on October 11th. Please find me nonstop flight options as well as hotel room options that are less than $400 per night. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter here, and you're going to see that the virtual desktop loads up. So now you can see that ChatGPT is showing me what it's actually doing, and you can see this virtual screen. So I'm actually watching what it's doing on a browser inside of ChatGPT. And at any time that it's doing this, you can click these three dots at the top right, and you can look at the activity. So if I click activity, it's just giving me a list of all the stuff it's doing in real time. I can go back to the desktop view. I can also take over. Now this is important because sometimes ChatGPT is going to get to a point where it wants you to input, maybe your account information or payment information. And we'll talk about that in just a moment. But it will either prompt me to do this or I can force take over. And at any time during this process, I can tell the agent to stop. But I'm just going to let it keep going here and we'll see what it's doing. So already it's gone to sites like Delta. Right now it's opening up cheap flights on Expedia. And this is just really interesting to see the process that the agent is actually using to try and troubleshoot or solve this prompt that I gave it. One thing that's also unique to this versus just prompting a ChatGPT is while it's doing its thing, I could actually follow up or tell the prompt to start doing something else. So say I forgot that I'm actually leaving on October 7th versus October 8th. I could tell it right now, hey, actually, you know what? I'm leaving on October 7th. So it would temporarily pause what it's doing, take my new information, and then continue its process with my updated information to complete the task. Now, this is kind of interesting. You can see that it's on booking.com and it's actually clicking in the date ranges, picking date ranges here. So it's kind of interesting to see how their mouse looks as it moves it around. And it's telling me every single thing that it's doing and why it's doing it. So it's a little bit fascinating to watch and see what it's doing. So this is something that happens a lot. It has issues with the virtual desktop performing certain actions. Like right here on booking.com, as it was selecting the date range, there was something happening in the JavaScript that wouldn't really allow it to be able to pick the date range. So it'll sometimes back out and try something else to make it work. Like right here, right? It's opening 555 lines of content to try and figure out what it's supposed to do next. So it can kind of get caught in these loops that take a lot of extra steps to do something that seems relatively simple to do. So you'll see that right now we're kind of caught in this loop. And if we go to the activity section here inside of the three dots, you can see it says right here, it seems there's an issue with selecting the correct range. And there's something with, maybe there's a dynamic content restriction. So the virtual browser, while it looks like it's able to click and select things on a website, it's pretty janky. It doesn't work very well. And I understand that that's a pretty big, ask, right? It is, every website's built on different platforms like technology. To have a system that works seamlessly to be able to access and, have the JavaScript correctly load or render on their virtual desktop is pretty amazing, but there are a lot of problems. So it'll get caught in these loops where it's not able to do something, so it backs out or it goes to a different site and tries to do it, fails there, and it just kind of takes a long time for this virtual desktop agent to be able to do some of these tasks. All right, so it just finished doing what I asked it to do, and you can see here that it worked for about 9 minutes, almost 10 minutes. So you can see it has all the nonstop flight options, which airlines, and I asked for nonstop flights specifically. It's also showing me hotels that are under $400 a night in this location for those dates. So now it's telling me that I would need to choose the flight that I want and then select the hotel, and it will help me to book it. But this is kind of what I'm getting at. I've already spent 9 minutes looking for a flight when I literally did this exact same exercise on Expedia, and I found flights and hotels in about 3 to 5 minutes. So I've already wasted 5 minutes waiting for this thing to tell me something, and I still would now need to wait maybe another 10 or 20 or 25 minutes for it to now pick the flight, log in, help me put my payment information in, and so forth. So this leads me to that question of practicality, right? Like, the idea here is cool, but is it actually saving me any time for something that is a relatively simple task? So I'm not sure that using the ChatGPT agent for simple tasks really saves you time. In fact, I could make the counter argument that it actually wastes time because it takes way longer. So I created a new chat, and I'm going to ask the agent to look at a service page on the BKA content website and ask it to make a presentation based on that information. So I'm going to go ahead and click enter. So it's going to start loading up the virtual machine, and we'll be able to take a look and see at what it's actually doing. So what's interesting here is I literally gave it the URL that I want it to learn from, but it is doing a Google search using BKA content and the local SEO services that we provide. So this is kind of interesting. Once it kind of hits a certain point, it'll open up an actual terminal and start writing some code to help it to parse things or take the information from web pages to be able to understand it and start moving it or creating a slide presentation. So on the presentation, it took it about 20 minutes to create a PowerPoint presentation based on a page, a service page off of our website. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. So if we go ahead and hit play, it'll show us, what it did here on this page. We can kind of go through these different slides, right? So what it did is it went through the page and kind of turned it into a slideshow. So it's actually kind of impressive, right? Some of the design elements are a little bit strange and weird, but most of the meat is here. So what's kind of cool about this is I could download this, PowerPoint file, and then I can make changes myself, which is kind of nice. So 20 minutes to make a slideshow based off of a web page isn't bad. Like, I could see that potentially helping you get, maybe 60, 70% of the way there on a, presentation that you need to give. So I'd also give a thumbs up to the agent on potentially doing presentations. So another way that you could use the agent is to say, connect to your Google Calendar and summarize, all the time that you spend and where do you spend it, make a report. So I'm going to go ahead and ask it to do that so I can show you what it does when it needs to connect to something that requires me to log in or access an account. So I'm going to go ahead and click enter. All right, so you can see that it is trying to access Google Calendar right now, so I'm waiting for that to happen. Okay, so right here it's now prompting me to log in with my Google account. So if I click log in, you'll see that it's going to take control of the virtual machine. And so now it's going to tell me that I am controlling the browser. So right now, there's a delay. If I type, it takes a minute for it to show up on the virtual machine. But this is where I could actually type in my Google account and log in. All right, so I went ahead and put my Google account in on an account that I don't use all the time, but that is real. And I'm going to go ahead and click Finish Controlling because I was able to log in. So now it's going to go ahead and do its thing. All right, so about after 3 minutes, it was able to look through my calendar and come up with a pretty decent report here on what happened and where I spent my time. So maybe, an agent that is doing something like this, doing some reporting, makes sense, right? That's actually kind of cool and nice, right? That would have taken somebody quite a bit of time to probably figure that out. And that was kind of a cool use case for that. So I'll give the agent a thumbs up for calendar reporting. All right, so here's another example where I asked the agent to go ahead and purchase a Halloween decoration. And so now it's to the point where it wants me to take over and input payment information. Now, what I find interesting about this is sensitive information, right? This is a credit card number, things like that. At the very bottom left here, it says that ChatGPT won't see or store anything you do while you're here. So that is kind of interesting because earlier this week, it was showing a warning saying, hey, be careful putting anything personal online because there are malicious people out there, right? Just like anyone who uses any website. So I find it a little bit interesting that ChatGPT has softened this language, or maybe they did make a change in the last day or two where they are not saving this data or helping us to feel a little bit safer about putting data in here. But the fact of the matter is this is a virtual machine. This is a machine somewhere on the cloud in the internet that is actually taking the data that I'm putting on my keyboard and putting it and storing it somewhere in their cache or their browser, right? So again, proceed with caution with whatever sort of risk tolerance level that you have. If you're not comfortable using a virtual machine that you don't know where it is to put payment information in, using a ChatGPT agent may not be the right solution for you. But if you're comfortable doing that, basically right here is where I would put in my payment information, I would finish, and it would make the order. So my final thoughts, it was actually really hard making this video because it just had so many issues. I really can only show you 1, 2, maybe 3 examples of it actually finishing or getting to the end where it would actually have me do something. But is it worth spending money for? I don't know if I personally would. If that was the deciding factor to have you purchase a higher tier on your ChatGPT account. I think this has a way to go. The practicality just doesn't quite match, the hype behind it. I do think there's a lot of potential of what this agent could be to help you, kind of do those mundane tasks. But right now it seems like it just takes so long and it runs into so many problems that it's just not really polished enough. And it's kind of really one of the more disappointing updates that ChatGPT has made. It just doesn't work very well. The potential's there. It's just the execution of it is not great. So there you have it. That's the ChatGPT agent in its current form. Like anything else, it will get better, but I wanted to show it to you so that you could see how it works. So if you found this video helpful, please make sure that you hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so that you'll be alerted when we put out more helpful content like this. And if you want to learn how to use ChatGPT to help you to write really awesome content that ranks high on Google, make sure that you watch this video where we go over from start to finish on how to do that using ChatGPT to save you time, but also get you the results that you want. So make sure that you watch this video and we'll see you over there.